Those boards don't work over water. They need power.
Hey, McFly, you bojo! Those boards don't work on water! Unless you've got power!
Ever wonder why you're trying to make a video and a plane flies over, a car goes by, a horn gets tooted, a train starts beeping? Well, this is one of those times. So there's really no better perfect time than the present. Hi folks, thanks for tuning into a brand new adventure with Art. Today we are going to cover more power solutions here to keep your life up and running and hopefully running smoothly whenever the power goes out. We're going to answer the question, do you really need a Tesla Powerwall or some type of other power solution for your home? Well, let's figure that out today on a new adventure with Art. Let's start the product review.
Adventuring Art's product reviews.
All right, so what you're seeing here are some AGM Deep Cycle Batteries. I've got 3 total. I also have a power inverter and a battery tender that's keeping this thing charged up and keeping it topped off. So we're gonna cover all 3 of these items in this little cart right now and talk about why this is better or worse than a Tesla Powerwall. All right, so why AGM batteries and why not a Tesla and why not a Tesla Powerwall? Why not a Tesla Powerwall? A AGM Deep Cycle Batteries. This technology has been around forever and a day. You've got your traditional lead acid batteries that are inside your vehicle, and then you got these deep cycle, sometimes they call them marine batteries. The ones I have right now are Duracell 105 amp hour batteries. What an amp hour is, it's just a unit of measure. Basically, you've got feet, yards, Fahrenheit, Celsius. So an amp hour is just another way to measure how much capacity these batteries have. To put it into another perspective, to run my refrigerator in my house for about a day, it's going to use about 105 amp hours for a full day's worth of use. So one of these batteries can keep that refrigerator going all day. So 3 of them, I've got 315 amp hours total. But now we got to talk about how do I get electricity out of these batteries into my house. So the way I do that is I bridge these guys together and I bridge them in what's called a parallel connection. Now, parallel, all that means, it's nothing fancy. Don't get scared of parallel. But let's look at it together. Parallel, all that means is I'm taking the positive red cable. So I bought cables, right? So I bought the batteries, I bought the cables, and then I bought the inverter. Okay, so positive to positive to positive.
You don't know if you're positive?
I don't know what positive means.
It's that simple. Negative to negative to negative. It's that simple, okay? And then I take the negative from battery number 3, and I take the positive from battery number 1, and I plug them into the inverter, and the battery number 1 and battery number, and the positive and then the negative slot. So battery 1 positive, battery 3 negative, and then boom, I've got the power inverter powered. Not that hard, okay? If it were just 2 batteries, then it would be positive, positive, negative, negative, and then I would grab the negative from battery 2 and the positive from battery 1, and then I would plug that in straight into the inverter. That simple, okay? So that's a quick and dirty way of how to set up a home power battery solution in your house. Don't be intimidated by it. Anybody can do it. Now, there are some safety precautions you're going to want to take it and make sure that you're abiding by. Some batteries vent fumes, so you're not going to want to put these in a closet in your house. I keep them in my garage, which is relatively an ambient temperature. It doesn't get really more than maybe 80 degrees in the summer, maybe 85, which is kind of warm for batteries. Ideally, these like to be kept about 70 degrees. 70 to 75 degrees is probably a preferred temperature for them, but all in all, it works. Now, the battery tender that I have keep basically plugged into the wall, and I always keep them plugged into the battery. The way that I have that hooked up is, if we just trace that cable down here, it goes to here, it's got a little connector here, and then I've got a positive going into battery 3, and I've got the negative going into battery 1. Now, really, I just keep these finger tight. I don't really have to ratchet them down, but I could have flip-flopped these. I could have put the positive on battery 1 and the negative on battery 3. So it's not really, it doesn't have to be that specific. And same thing like with battery 3 going to the inverter, I could have put that on number 3. The key is that you just want to make sure you're grabbing the bookends when you're setting these guys up here. Okay? All right. So now that we got all the nerdy stuff out of the way and all the technical stuff, so why is this better than a Tesla Tower wall? Okay. Tesla Tower wall. I can't speak today. You made me no speaky. So why is this better than a Tesla Powerwall? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because it probably isn't. But that's not to say it's not an affordable option. So instead of spending, who knows how much those things are, like 20,000, I'm assuming 20, 30,000. They're just outrageously expensive. I mean, okay, I'll be fair, maybe 10,000. So battery 1, 110 bucks. Battery 2, 110 bucks. Battery 3, 110 bucks. 330 bucks total. Inverter, 100 and maybe 50 when I bought it. I'll put links to all this stuff down in the description if you care about it. Same thing with the little battery tender. So all in all, less than 500 bucks. I've got a complete power solution to keep my refrigerator, my deep freeze, my modem. I've got all those 3 items powered, and I don't have to worry about keeping my mission essential devices up and going so that I can have number 1 phone calls because I do voice over IP in the house, and then I can also have my food prevent my food from spoiling and maybe have a fan running in the house. Now, this isn't a long-term solution. With 3 batteries, I'm not going to keep that refrigerator and that deep freeze and that modem going for more than probably about 2 days. 2 days, it's gone. All these power, because you don't really want to drain these things lower than 50% anyways. The way I know that I'm going lower than 50% is I use a 12-volt car adapter that I have plugged in, and again, one's going to battery 1, positive going to battery 1, negative's going to battery 3, and it tells me how many watts that it has, volts. Let's look, see, 13 point, oh, is it going to flash? 13.9, there you go. 13.9 volts. That's how much juice these things are staying at. Once it hits about 12 volts, then you're at 50%. You're not going to want to drain it anything lower than 50%. So once you do, you can cause damage to the battery. Lowest I've gotten these things is probably about 40%. You only want to do that very sparingly, and I did that whenever we had the huge power outage back in the day in Fort Worth, where all of Texas lost power for roughly about a week, it seems like. There were rolling outages, but not in my neighborhood. We weren't one of the fortunate ones. I did have a solar panel that was kind of keeping these things topped off, and but I'll leave the solar talk for another day. All right, so batteries can keep your house running. Power walls, they're expensive. You gotta pay an electrician to do all this. I just did all this myself. I mean, this is just a DIY thing. I mounted this little guy to the wall here. I run some extension cords underneath through my, the door that goes into the house here in the garage, and that's roughly it. Now, you got to be able to determine how many watts your thing uses, right? Your refrigerator uses. So the way I figured that out is I have this thing called a kilowatt meter. All it is just a little plug thing that goes. Plugs into your wall in it, and I would just take a peek at it. At the most, it would pull is about 140 watts when it was running. Now it doesn't run all day though, right? So it may run about half the day. Because of that, those 150 watts, I mean, it's only really pulling about 750 to 1,000 watts in a given day. Now, 105 amp hour, so it's 105 times 12 because there's 12 watts per 1 amp. So you're talking about, I've got about 1,200, let's just say I've got 1,200 watts per battery, 1,200, 2,400, 3,600 watts of usable power. Now my refrigerator's pulling about 1,000 a day. So I could, if I was just running the fridge, I've got about 3 days worth of use. If I was using the fridge in my deep cycle fridge I have a deep freeze. I've got a deep freeze in the garage that uses about 750 watts. So now we're talking about 2,000 watts, and you don't want to get them lower than 50%. So if I've got 3,600 to go, and I'm using 2,000 watts, that's about 40%. So I'm stuck at about a day's worth of use. I can go about 24 hours without power. Now, what would happen if I lost power? I probably would wait about 3 hours to see if it came back, and if it didn't, I'd come out in the garage, because the freezer's going to maintain cold, right? It's not going to be instantly hot the second the power goes down. It's going to take it a while to start warming up the temperature in those things, as long as you're not opening and closing those devices. But yeah, so just a real short description of how to have a home power solution if you lose power in your home. In my case, this works great. I mean, yeah, if I could afford a super expensive Tesla Powerwall, yeah, I probably would get one, right? It'd be nice to have that option as but you don't need solar, you don't need any of those things. This is charged and topped off with the battery tender, and it keeps me going. So I'll put links to all this stuff down in the description. I have a lot of videos about power and battery backup solutions, so be sure to check out this playlist right up here, and also I'll have it down in the description below. So if you scroll down, click my power battery playlist, power solutions playlist. Be sure to check those out. I have a couple other different ways I keep other things powered in the house when we do lose power, which seems now it's getting more and more frequent these days. Who knows what the deal is, right? But yeah, so again, thanks for tuning in for a brand new adventure with Art, Power Electrified edition. I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next adventure. Don't forget to subscribe, folks, and leave me a comment. See you around. Bye.